Earth's natural satellite. If we look at it, we see that there are features on it. Some people have even said that there's a man on the moon. But taking a closer look through a telescope, we notice it has dark spots and light spots, craters and mountains, defining features. When we start to think about looking at the dark side or the far side of the moon, we notice that this was very different. The Soviet spacecraft Luna 3 got this photo of the far side of the moon in October 7, 1959. Scientists were shocked to see that there was barely any features. The Maria that defined our side of the moon were barely present, and it looked like this side of the moon was much more featureless. Near a decade later, in December 1968, Apollo William Anders noted, "The backside of the moon looks like a sandpile my kids have played in some time. It's all beat up, no definition, just a lot of bumps and holes." These new discoveries puzzle scientists. Why was one side of the moon defined by craters and Maria, while the other side had more craters and barely any features that made it defining? Well, eventually they did come up with an explanation, and the best way to show you that is using a frozen pizza. After the moon formed 4 billion years ago, it's said that the impact left both bodies, the Earth and the moon, so very hot. While the far side of the moon ended up being cooled by space over time, the near side, the side that we see, was baked by the very warm Earth. In doing so, it acted as a huge pizza oven, something that our pizza analogy will demonstrate. So let's imagine that the far side of the moon is like this frozen pizza, right? It's been cooled by space, it hasn't been heated in a while, and despite being previously heated, it's very hard and thick. Now, meteor. As you can see, it's made a bit of a dent, but not enough to actually go ahead and do anything to the surface, right? This is actually what the near side of the moon does, right? It gets affected by meteors, but they don't make significant dents, and there's no much Maria there because, well, basically nothing comes through. Now let's imagine that this cooked pizza actually now represents the near side of the moon. The reason it's cooked is because after the moon formed and started to cool down, the Earth was still molten, so it started keeping the near side warm. The thing is, though, now we have a meteor. And as you can see, right, even though I made an impact here, you can see the cheese and the sauce is actually rapidly filling in. If I was to leave this pizza to dry, obviously there would be a mark left here in this pizza, and that would be representation of our Maria. So as you can see, right, the crater I made is filling it with cheese and with sauce here, right? This is the underneath layers of the moon, right? It's actually formed a pretty thick crust. It's a bit liquid, a bit oozy, but still there, right? But the underneath it is very liquid, right? That would represent the hard surface that's being baked on the moon, but also the layer that's still cooling underneath. This was more lava-like, and in fact we know this because of the basalt rock that we've gotten from the dark areas of the moon. It's a basalt rock that's usually formed in igneous rock on Earth. And as you can see, right, because it's being filled, right, that rock turned into a different color, and that's why we got some of the darker areas of the moon.